Uncle Storytime. Story 1. The Girl Who Broke Her Pot. There was a village in Africa that was very far from the waterhole where they collect their water from. One day, while on the way to draw water from the waterhole, a girl had the misfortune to break her rope holding her water pot. In great distress, she cried out for a rope, and looking up, she saw one hanging from a cloud, like the ropes in the stories of God leaving the earth. Climbing up, she found a ruined village in the sky, and an old woman sitting there that asked what she wanted. The girl told her story, and the old woman told her to continue walking, and if an ant crawled up into her ear, she must leave it alone, as the ant will advise her. As she walked along, an ant did crawl into her ear. The girl continued walking, and coming to a new village, heard the ant whisper to her to sit down at the entrance. As she sat at the gate, some African elders came out in shining clothes and asked what she was doing there. Thinking quickly, the girl said she had come to look for a baby, as asking for a rope would sound so weak. The elders took her to a house, gave her a basket, and told her to collect some corn from the garden. The ant whispered that she should pull one cob at a time and arrange it carefully in the basket. The elders were pleased with her work and with the cooking that she did on the ant's instructions. Next morning, they showed her two babies, one wrapped in red cloth and one in white cloth. She was going to choose the one in the red clothes, when the ant told her to choose the white one instead. This she did, and the elders gave her the baby, and as many cloths and beads as she could carry. Then she found her way back to her family, and they were overjoyed at her treasures and her baby. The girl's sister was jealous and set off for the heavenly land to seek the same good fortune. She got up to the sky, but she was a very rude and willful creature who refused to listen to the old woman or heed the warnings of the ant. When she saw the babies, she chose the red-clothed one. There was a great explosion, and she fell down dead. Her bones dropped on her home from the heavens, and people commented that heaven was angry with her because she had a wicked heart. Story 2. No king as God. When an ordinary man comes before an African king, he would normally salute him with these words, "May the king live forever." But once lived a man who refused to say this obligatory phrase, instead substituting, "There is no king like God." After many visits to the king and many repetitions of this heretical phrase, the king grew angry and plotted to destroy the man. He gave the man 2 silver rings and told him they were a present to keep, but in reality the king meant to avenge himself through them. The man, whom everybody by now call no king as God, took the rings, put them into a dried, empty ram's horn, and gave them to his wife to keep for him. A week later, the king called no king as God and sent him to a distant village to tell the people to come and help build up the city walls. As soon as he had gone, the king sent for the man's wife and offered her 1,000 cowries, imported small shells used as money or ornaments, and 100 head cloths and body cloths if she would give him that which her husband had entrusted to her. Tempted by the splendid presents, the wife agreed and brought the ram's horn, and when the king looked inside, there were the 2 rings safely stored. He placed them back in the horn and gave it to his servants with instructions to throw it far into a lake. They did so, and as the horn fell into the water, a great fish swam by and swallowed it. On the day that no king as God was returning home, he met his son and some friends near his home, and they wanted to go fishing. He went with them and caught that great fish. As his son was cleaning the big fish, his knife struck something hard, and he called to his father. The father pulled out the horn, and when he opened it and looked inside, he saw the rings which the king had given him for safekeeping. "Truly," he said, "there is no king like God." They were still fishing when a royal messenger came and told the man he was wanted by the king at once. He stopped at his house first and asked his wife where was that precious thing he had entrusted to her. She replied that she could not find it and thought a rat had eaten it. Shaking his head at her lies, the man set off for the royal court. The other counselors all saluted the king by saying, "May the king live forever." But the man said only, "There is no king like God." So the king told the counselors to be quiet, and advancing towards the man he said, "Is it true that there is no king like God?" The man replied firmly, "Yes." Then the king demanded the rings which he had entrusted to the man and signaled his guards to get ready to kill him. But no king as God put his hand under his robe and pulled out the horn and handed it to the king. The king opened it and took out his 2 silver rings. "Indeed, there is no king like God," he said, total amazement, and all his counselors shouted in approval. Then the king divided his city into 2 and gave half of it to no king as God to rule.